So it's 10 minutes of 7, August 15th. The trustees and I have just come out of executive session. For your information, we had a presentation from our construction supervisors as to the proposed new public safety facility and renovations to this facility, and you will be updated that at a later date, but that's what our real estate executive session was about. No decisions were made, just a presentation. So now we'll call our regular meeting to order for this evening, which is a regular meeting of the Swanton Village Board of Trustees for August 15th, 2023. First order of business, would you please stand with me and pledge allegiance to our flag?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Our agenda review is next on our agenda. Hopefully there's no revisions to it unless we could cut a few things out of it, but is there any?
I have one thing.
One
I have
thing?
to add the water allocation request to the end, and I thought we could do that right after number 20.
After who?
After number 20, after Heidi and before Bill's update.
Okay. Anything else?
No, sir.
If not, moving right along, we have an update from Aldrich and Elliott, some representatives from their company. I'm gonna update us on our Missisquoi River water line crossing job that has been in the works for a while now. So, welcome to Swanton, gentlemen.
Thank you.
First trip, I'm sure, but,
Nope.
so, you're on the stage.
Thank you. For those of you who don't know, my name is Jason Booth with Aldrich Elliott, Vice President. I've been here in front of the board a couple times. You're probably most familiar with Wayne, Wayne Elliott from our office. This is Jameson Haddad. He's with our office as well. We both work largely in construction management, so that's where we're kind of headed at this point. So wanted to just follow up and touch base on the waterline project. We have completed our bid analysis and our recommendation for contract award. So just to touch on a couple of items before we get too far into the contract award. Obviously, you're aware of the overrun on the project. Going through the project numbers, the major overrun was with the river crossing itself, the directional drill crossing, which was almost $1 million over where we expected it to be. Couple items with that respect. It's a pretty challenging crossing. I'm not sure how much you guys have talked about this, but there are very few contractors that can actually perform that work. We do a pretty decent effort during design to reach out to specialty contractors that would be performing specialty work as this is on contracts during design. Locally, obviously, you're probably all aware of Engineers Construction is the contractor locally that would perform this work. They're not very forthcoming normally about providing pricing, so there wasn't a lot to go with. They're also the only one in town typically to do that work. So unfortunately, we came in a little bit over bid. I say a little bit, about $1 million.
Just missed.
Just missed. So we went back to the state. You had a pretty incredible funding package to begin with. You qualified for disadvantaged subsidy, which is basically principal loan forgiveness of up to 50% of your total project. So we went back to the state and we talked with them about this project overrun, and they have agreed to honor the 50% disadvantaged subsidy for your project for the full project cost. So basically, what that means for your project, and I had provided some information to Bill. Did you provide them with the packages or the total project costs at all?
I did not.
Okay, not a problem. We can talk through it a little bit. So With the bids that we received, the low bid was GW Tatro out of Jeffersonville, Vermont. Their bid was $1.8 million. In the total project cost, we carry a contingency on top of that $1.8 million of 5%. In addition to engineering costs that have already been expended, there's some construction engineering costs where this state-funded project, they require the engineer to have a representative on site full-time during construction. That's incorporated in your total project cost. And then there's some other costs. So permit fees, which is the drinking water supply permit fee that you have to get for the project. Archaeological review, we'll talk about that in a minute. Then there's some administrative and legal fees that go along with it, and we carry an item for short-term interest in case you do some borrowing during construction. Total project cost with the bids, with the apparent low bid, was $2.2 million, $2,214,020. That's with the apparent low bidder from GW Tatro. Your existing bond capacity for this project is $1.2 million. The disadvantaged subsidy for the project ends up being $1.1 million, which is 50% of the total project. And that leaves a projected loan amount of $1.1 million as well. So you're within your bonding capacity for the project, and that leaves an uncommitted bond capacity of about $92,000. So your project is whole, and again, you're getting a pretty significant subsidy package through the drinking water program. So the project is able to move forward, assuming you concur with the recommendation to award. Any questions on anything at this point?
Engineering construction has nothing to do, he's not gonna get the job, right?
I'm sorry, what's that?
The engineering construction guys from Burlington are not in
So
this job, right?
I spoke with the representative at GW Tatro to see who they carry for directional drilling. And they have carried Henniker Drilling out of New Hampshire. They're from the Manchester area, I believe, southern New Hampshire.
I only mentioned engineering construction
Yeah.
because we had a very bad
I
experience with
remember,
them.
I'm aware, yes,
Okay.
I remember that whole.
When I need to go by.
Understood, and we don't have control over who the general contractor carries as a subcontractor for the work.
I understand that,
Yep.
that's fine, I'm glad you're reaching out to these other people.
Yep, and so GW Tatro, they actually carried a different driller who's capable of doing the work.
Perfect.
So somebody, they've used them before, they've had success with them before, and they're out of southern New Hampshire.
Can they do it to our time?
If our time is
Potential.
next year, the answer is yes.
Well, yeah, so
Next year.
we've initiated conversations on schedule. The contact at GW Tatro has reached out to the driller from New Hampshire to see what their schedule is. I haven't heard back from them yet, so I don't know. There's an opportunity for them to start this year. The drilling has to start first. The drill has to be done first before the general contractor can come in and lay the open cut portion of the water line. So that's really the critical path. And I don't know yet whether the driller is able to do any work this year. If they could, it would probably be October, November. I'm not sure if we want to go down that road. We certainly could. I don't want to get into a winter construction situation. So we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. We got a little ways to go
So
before we
a
can
really
make that
nice
decision.
shot would be next spring.
That's correct, yeah. Most likely it'll be next spring.
Okay. And the price won't?
No,
Change
so what
considerably?
we're doing right now is we're pushing ahead here so that we can lock this pricing. And so, we don't have, there's a couple of items. We've prepared our bid analysis. Sorry, before I get too further, are there any other questions on the contract price or anything I've discussed? No, okay. So our bid analysis and recommendation to award is to GW Tatro. It's contingent upon two things. There are still some unresolved archaeological issues that are out there. Mainly so with the drilling pits. So the directional drill where that drilling unit goes into the ground on one side of the river, and where that drilling unit comes out of the ground on the other side of the river. So where they excavate at that, we call it a receiving pit or a drilling pit. So there's some archaeological concerns, particularly at the boat launch. Representatives for our office and Bill and the state's historic preservation and the archaeological sub-consultant that did the review work met last week. We are expecting from state historic preservation some information this week. We've given them a deadline of tomorrow to provide us information. We've been waiting for quite some time for them to review and provide comment. We're optimistic that it's going to be, there will be some additional work, but limited additional work, but yet to be determined because we have not seen their review comments yet. Hopefully we see those tomorrow and we can get that underway. We have some options for dealing with that, as I've discussed with Bill a little bit. We just need to hear from the archaeological division and see what their concerns are and how we can resolve those to move forward. So our bid analysis recommendation is contingent upon that information and also confirmation of the drinking water SRF package. And that's the funding package I referred to.
Yeah.
The state is intending to release their intended use plan, which governs, that's gonna say you've got all this money. So you have a portion of disadvantaged subsidy off of the last fiscal year funding cycle. And the additional funding for the overrun is coming likely off of this current fiscal year funding cycle. A little complicated, but that's how they allocate the funding through the state program. And that list is supposed to be finalized before the end of the month. So that's why we have this here. We have an email from the state that kind of details the additional funding, but I want something that is more concrete and solid that really formalizes your funding package. So this
That's
is
the
a little bit of,
50% thing you're talking about.
that's correct. So you have 50% disadvantaged subsidy for up to 1.2 currently, and they've committed to the balance, but I want to see that formalized on their document before we're all kind of kosher to say, yes, do this. So it's there, and they're confident that it's there. I want to see something on paper that says that it's there.
Something will end up in court.
That's right. I don't want to, too often, and we've seen this in the past where, and they all mean well and they want to fund every project they can. But things happen, and we've seen, funding get pushed back or whatever the case may be. I just want to make sure that it's there and it's on paper before we actually say, okay, Swanton, go ahead with this. And we've talked about this.
We appreciate that.
Yeah, so what we're looking to do here, so a couple things. We have the bid valid period, which the contractor has to hold their price for 60 days after bid opening. That bid valid period expires on September 15th of this year. So our hope is that we can have these items resolved, or resolved enough to have confidence to be able to execute a notice of award with the contractor, and that locks in the pricing. So the pricing doesn't change unless we have a change order for something that comes in while construction is ongoing. But that would memorialize this pricing for you. So that should answer that question you had there. So tonight what we've done is prepared two things: the bid analysis and recommendation for contract award to GW Tetro of Jeffersonville, Vermont, in the amount of $1,874,400, contingent upon archaeological review by State Historic Preservation Office and confirmation of the drinking water SRF funding package. So that's our recommendation for the contract. And that puts us in a position, once we get those two items ticked off the list, we can move forward. So that your concurrence would put us into a good position for that. The other item we have is mostly a procurement item as a requirement from the program, the SRF funding program. And that's the Disadvantaged Business Enterprise Program, where we have to reach out to minority and women-owned businesses. And the contractor has to contact certain businesses that are interested in bidding the project and get pricing. And we have to just confirm that they've gone through that process. And there's a separate approval and concurrence that they've gone through with that process. And we've provided that information to Bill. So there's two separate pieces that we need concurrence on tonight.
So I concur 100%. I was out on the historic preservation tour, round 2. I heard all of the conversations. Nothing would lead me to believe that there's anything in the way of suspending this project, delaying this project in any way. So I do need a motion. We do need a motion. So I have, Jason, both of those items ready on letterhead for you.
Yep.
Just need a motion authorizing me to sign a notice of intent to award a contract to GW Tetro for the contract amount of $1,874,400 for construction of the Missisquoi River water main crossing.
So moved.
A second.
Moved and seconded. The motion's been moved and seconded. You heard the motion. Any more questions, discussion on it? I think he was pretty clear, Jason's pretty clear. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
No opposition, the motion's carried unanimously. So, that one's good.
Wonderful.
So, and you would need one other motion, you said?
No,
Or is
I'm
that
comfortable
covered?
just signing the disadvantaged businesses one on my own. I
Oh,
think we need a
okay.
motion for the overarching, but I'll
Okay.
sign both and I'll get those off to you tomorrow morning.
Scan
That's
is
okay.
fine, yep. You know, it's fine.
Yep.
Okay.
Excellent.
Nice to finish this project up. This
Well
is
done.
great.
We'll get there.
Yeah.
Well done.
We'll
It's
get there.
not as glum as it looked a couple of weeks ago.
It's not.
Yeah.
It is not. Yep.
Okay, that's great.
Yeah. All right.
Now, neither of you are here for the amendment of 19,000, right? Because I got that.
We can be here
Well, yeah,
if you need us to be.
if we,
Yes.
Mr. President, if we can jump ahead and just talk about one other item that is
18,
number 18,
Yeah.
since we have Aldrich and Elliott here.
okay,
So-
item number 18 is review and approve our state revolving loan program amendment for wastewater treatment plant dewatering solution in the amount of $19,490.
So this is for the additional work that they're gonna do on the front end, talking about the centrifuge and controls and incorporating that into the project, which changes the amount of the contract by $19,490.
I make the appropriate motion.
One second.
Okay, we have a
All right. Again.
We have a motion and a second, to approve the state revolving loan fund for the amount of $19,490. Any more discussion? If not, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
No opposition, that motion is carried unanimously also. So, thank you. That's it.
Great.
So,
Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate your time. Appreciate your time.
thank you.
Have a great night.
Yeah.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Enjoy. Safe travels back.
Thank you.
Still some
We're not
people.
far away.
There you go.
If you're looking for dessert, there's still some pizza left.
Yes.
Yeah.
Pizza to go.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you, gentlemen,
Take care.
appreciate it.
Okay, item number 7, public comment. Anybody on Zoom?
No,
Nobody on Zoom. The owl's dead, so
yeah.
no public comment at this point. Item number 8, approve and accept the minutes from our Monday, July 24th, 2023 meeting as presented. What's your pleasure on the minutes?
So moved.
And seconded.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve and accept the minutes from July 24th. Any discussion? If not, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
No opposition to that either. Motion's carried unanimously. Item number 9, approve and accept the village warrants through Thursday, August 10th, 2023. What's your pleasure on the warrants?
Will they be approved as printed?
I'll second it.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve and accept the warrants through August 10th. Any discussion? You find anything yet? One, all right.
Warrant number 76, 87322 USA Blue Book.
You say USA Blue Book? That's the sewer plant and the water plant use that company for, like maintenance and supplies and stuff down in their plant.
Okay, any other questions?
I'm good.
All those in favor, all All those in favor of the motion, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, that motion is carried unanimously. Item number 10, Chris. Review and acknowledge the second quarter SQRP report for the electric department. Our status.
I have reviewed the report. It is a self-report card. We're doing fine. I would make we don't need a motion, but I would just acknowledge that the board has seen the report and we are happy with our performance.
Looks good.
Okay,
There we go.
so stated. Thank you. Item number 11, update to Swanton Village Parks and Noise Ordinances.
So Donnie approached me a couple weeks ago and thought first of all, our parks ordinance, we never had Swanton Beach Park listed on there. So we want to add number 7, Swanton Beach Park, so that way they can enforce, any action down there that
That's
they need
never
to.
been in
It's
the
not, it wasn't on our parks ordinance, no? And then we
Wow,
also need to
that's
change,
weird.
Flatiron Park to Veterans Memorial Park,
Oh, name change.
the name change. So we
Wow.
need to do that update, add Swanton Beach, and that way they can enforce time,
Yeah.
you know.
They changed that name.
Well, we changed the name of the park, but it never got done. We already had that ordinance done, and we never updated it in the ordinance.
Okay,
So this is, one of a triple whammy. We're gonna change Flatiron Park to Veterans Memorial. We're gonna add Swanton Beach Park in, give a description of what it is, 2.4 acre parcel of land located at 2 Macomb Shore Road. The noise ordinance, when Dave Kachajian was here, we had done it where there was a decibel listing. That decibel listing is so low, we were talking to Donnie's office and I violated the noise ordinance. So we're getting rid of the measuring by decibel and, going to, when an officer feels it's a
Unreasonable.
unreasonable
Noise.
noise.
So it is defined to some extent. I would recommend, I just noticed, and I don't know if this is the way it currently reads, but, in the top section, 5600, there's subsection E. It starts with A, plainly audible. I don't know if you have this in front of you, but subsection E references the decibel amount, and I would recommend striking that
I'll
portion.
still get rid of that definition.
Yeah, as far as, because we would just go to what's unreasonable noise, and it is laid out, depending on the circumstance, to some degree, between the hours of 6 a.m. and 9 p.m. It would give officers the ability to exercise discretion as to what unreasonable noise is, but after 9 p.m. until 6 a.m., any noise, for example, in an apartment building that could be heard through a wall, ceiling, floor, would automatically be a violation of the ordinance. And then it addresses, for example, amplified music, that sort of thing, is a standard that's plainly audible from 50 feet away. So I think it's a lot more practical as far as enforcement goes. It didn't seem fair, when the ambient noise, if we walked outside the PD and just traffic going by on First Street was violating the noise ordinance.
Okay.
those 3.
Do you need
Yeah.
a motion? or
Yeah,
We need separate motions for those?
no, one trustee can make the, motion to update both ordinances as described.
As presented.
Yep.
I'll second
it.
Necessary.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to address the Swanton Beach dedication, the Veterans Park dedication, and the noise ordinance. Any more discussion on that? I have made it pretty clear. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Excuse me.
You have to post that
So I have to post it,
for 30
give the
days,
public 45 days to
45 days.
petition to not do it or whatever, to run it in the paper.
That's okay.
Yep. So it'll take effect, I believe it's 60 days.
Okay, did I go for the approval? Yeah. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
You did now.
Yes, so it's all right. Item number 12, Swanton Village Police Department update with our chief, Matt Sullivan.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So, first looking at the village report, in the month of July, we responded to 124 incidents. Out of these incidents, the top 10 incidents types were suspicious people, 13 incidents, traffic stops 12, foot patrols 11, 9 directive patrols, 9 agency assists, 8 motor vehicle complaints, 7 citizen assists, 6 community outreach, 6 welfare checks, and 5 citizen disputes. There were 12 traffic stops, 11 tickets were issued, 10 warnings were issued, and 2 arrests were made during those traffic stops. There were 19 arrest charges total and 11 individuals who were arrested. I will add that I personally was out engaging in traffic enforcement on Spring Street at the beginning of the month. I want to say it was July 1st. I was there for, I believe, about 5 hours. I probably measured the speed of a few hundred vehicles going down Spring Street. They were all relatively reasonable, but I did issue a few tickets in the course of time, and getting a few vehicles in the 40-mile-per-hour range on Spring Street. But the other thing I will add too is that subsequent to that, I sat down on Waquan Shore in the Governor's Highway Safety Detail, engaged in traffic enforcement, and did something similar by the drinking water facility. And I did not get anybody egregiously speeding on Waquan Shore, which I thought was positive. I mean, granted, it's just a one-day snapshot, right, 5 hours at a time. But previously, I think, when I sat down there, I was consistently getting people exceeding the speed limit too. So those are, it's positive anecdotal evidence that hopefully speeds are coming down.
It's positive.
In and around the village.
Just a question on the foot patrol. How are you working that? Is that just on a certain day basis, or is it a certain location?
So officers will self-initiate foot patrols, and it's in the village in particular, so they will walk the streets. It's something we used to do in Burlington on a regular basis. Sergeant Beddoe was really enthusiastic about doing that, so I know both him and Officer Cooper regularly engage in foot patrols in the village. And we had a great response to that when Sergeant Beddoe first came on, because people feel like the officer's that much more accessible rather than just driving through the village.
No, it's, I've received good stuff about it, so just want to make sure folks know.
So they'll continue to do that.
Yep.
I think hopefully as long as the weather, and these numbers are probably suppressed a little bit because we've had so much rain. And not so much good weather to be out there on foot. But then jumping to the village and all areas where officers were working, we had a very busy July with 287 incidents. There were 62 traffic stops. Out of those 62 traffic stops, 30 tickets were issued, 45 warnings, and 3 arrests were made during those traffic stops. There were 23 arrest charges, representing 14 unique individuals for those arrest charges. And then again, looking at the top 10 incident types, the traffic stops led with 62, directed patrols 45, and directed patrol is a newer incident type that we created to try to track where officers were patrolling. So for example, if they're out engaged in monitoring traffic for speed, they'll punch a directed patrol card so it's documented that they were in that area at that time, actually engaged in traffic enforcement monitoring the area. It's taking a little bit of time. Some officers are much better at punching those incidents than others because they used to just do that in the regular course of patrol. But now we can document it as long as they're punching those incidents. There were 21 suspicious circumstance cards. 19 agency assists, 15 motor vehicle complaints, 11 foot patrols, 10 community outreach, 10 citizen assists, 9 welfare checks, and 8 property watch incidents. And you have the summary there.
Is there anything that stands out to you just from the month?
Not really. We've got the speed trailer on South River right now to monitor speeds on South River and pull a data set from there. We had previously put the trailer up on 78 and got a good data set up on 78. We will put it on Robin Hood after South River to see what we're getting for speeds on Robin Hood. But it's a great tool because you can pull a data set and actually see the times of day that speed is occurring and then what those speeds are.
Right.
So that we can engage in more directed enforcement in those areas at specific times. But the other thing I would just add is that there have been some pretty high priority cases that touched on Swanton, going back to the drug enforcement we've been engaged in over the last year. Some of these individuals, one was just arrested in Maine for the homicide in Leicester. But he was one of the individuals we had targeted here in the village and pushed him out of the village. And so issues with the drug enforcement is there's a lot of violent crime associated with it, and as well as a second individual involved in the homicide case, which I think I previously touched on in Massachusetts, after he was arrested here in Vermont and was displaced back in Massachusetts. So we're continuing to do that. That would be the one trend that I would say there's been a really distinct positive effect for the time being at least, is that we've seen that we've pushed the drug activity out of the village itself and for the most part out of Swanton Town also for the time being.
We're all thankful for it.
It's okay.
How about, Matt, how about shoplifting? Any complaints about shoplifting?
I don't recall seeing any that jumped out at me. I didn't specifically search shoplifting to see if we had any, or see how many incidents of larceny we had. Right, again, anecdotally, it seemed like last year there were more incidents of larcenies from businesses than we've had this year.
Okay, well, that's good. If you haven't heard anything about it, hopefully it's improving. Okay.
I have no question, but thanks for the improvement with the community night out thing. That was pretty
Yes.
good.
Yeah.
National Night Out.
Yeah.
Forgot to mention that also. So we did have the National Night Out event, the beginning of the month, which was very successful again.
Yeah,
It was a
very,
great
very
night.
good turnout.
We had great weather, and so we did receive a lot of positive feedback thanks to Sergeant Gagne, who has organized that event the last 2 years.
Yeah, it was a good night.
And I want to thank the community for really coming out and participating. Bad Horsey for playing the music, providing the music for the event, and all of our community partners, TDI Towing for running the grills. I believe Hannaford's was the one that donated a lot of food. So it's a great community event.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions for the chief?
No.
No,
Yeah,
the
thank
next
you.
item, same thing.
Yeah, good. You're on the next item, please.
Yeah.
Item number 13, approve the Swanton Village Police Department request to create a purchase order to include fit up for a new police cruiser to be purchased with surplus funds that were approved on Article number 6 of the 2023 Swanton Village ballot.
Just a question, if it was approved by the voters, why should we hesitate?
Because the total cost to include fit up is just over 71,000, which we're gonna articulate, it's a little more than 60,000. So Donnie, if you wanna give the specifics to that cost and where we're at with that would be great. So there's a little overage there, cause like everything else, prices are increasing.
Bless you.
But also with the capital, what the voters vote to put into the capital savings account, the trustees need to authorize us to take money out of there.
Okay,
So that's what we're looking for, is that you guys allow us to take money out of that savings.
good answer.
And I believe Lynn can speak to this, but there's more money than just that money that was transferred last year.
Yeah, there, I can actually tell you.
Okay.
Cause I haven't moved, I'm waiting for property taxes to start coming in before we move those surplus funds from 2022 into 2023, or into the fund. So currently, in that account, there's just under $36,000, and then we'll add the 60 to it, so there'll be like 90,000 in there.
Yeah, so the village manager was correct when he said the vehicle and the upfit is just over $71,000 is what we're estimating. We do have a hard price on the vehicle. There have been supply chain issues over the last couple of years. Officer Gilbert is our fleet manager, and so he can provide much more detail than I can.
Okay,
But it has been difficult to even find vehicles. And then my understanding is there's some question, even if you were to get a purchase order for a new vehicle, that purchase order may not be fulfilled in the coming year.
Really?
So, yeah, the vehicles are hard to find, and we do have one located that's available. But I'll let
Okay.
Officer Gilbert speak to more detail.
Yes, sir.
Evening. As everybody said, vehicles, if you've tried to buy one recently, in the last couple of years, it's become harder and harder to get what you're looking for. And police vehicles are not exempt from that problem. I've been in touch with several different distributors, cover all different manufacturers, for produce police vehicles, which are now Ford, Chevrolet, and Dodge. They are, as of 2024, according to all the research that I've done with different dealers I've spoken with, the industry is going to go to purchase order verified system, which basically means they're not gonna mass produce police pursuit vehicles. They are gonna wait for a series of orders to be made and then give you a build date sometime within the next year, hopefully. Some of the dealers I've spoken with have had vehicles on order for 2023, verified order, purchase order from the municipalities, and those orders didn't get filled. So they're gonna be filled in 24, in the first build-up cycle. I spoke with the representative from Goss Dodge the other day. He advised me that the ordering window for 2024 police pursuit Durangos is now open for build cycle 1, which he said was scheduled to be in November of this year. I said, okay, when does that mean we might see the vehicle? He said, I knew you were gonna ask me that question, and I will have to get back to you. I have not heard back from him yet. So I'm taking that as nobody is willing to give a definitive answer. If you were to order a vehicle now for next year for 2024, you may or may not see that vehicle in 2024. Harsh reality. I've reached out to a couple different upfitter dealers for police vehicles. And I actually was able to find a vehicle out at John Jones Police Pursuit Vehicles in Salem, Indiana. It's a Dodge Durango. The only thing they have on the lot are the V8s. Like I said, that's all they've, the salesman was gracious enough to hold one in case we had approval tonight. And from what I can tell you is that the price of the vehicles are, and the reason why they're so much higher is right now, the price of vehicles has gone up astronomical. You know, we bought the 2022 Durango, we paid $37,000 for it. This new vehicle, and the price of $47,000 for this new vehicle, that includes tax title, or not taxes, but all the paperwork and delivery here from Indiana. But next year in 2024, the Ford Explorer prices are going to be $46,000 a piece for just a bare, no frills police package. The Durangos are gonna be about the same at 46, 47. So, like I said, the prices have gone up quite a bit from when I started putting these bill packages together. And then
What constitutes a police package? What do they do?
they,
Bigger brakes, bigger engine?
larger, not so
Bigger
much bigger
transmission?
engines, the engines are about the same, they put heavier brakes, heavier suspension systems in them.
They
For
don't ride
rides,
as comfortably.
they don't, yeah, for, they handle the higher speeds,
They're pursuit rated.
pursuit rated.
Okay, I just,
Yeah, no, that's,
They're stiff and uncomfortable is what they are.
but they handle, huh?
They do.
And then the other aspect of this also is that, I don't know, you may have some questions as to the type of vehicle. There are those limited 3 manufacturers for the most part, but essentially, Ford has, many municipalities have used the Fords for many years. We've had issues with our newer Fords, braking, and then trying to source parts for the warranty work has been difficult. Again, I think due to supply chain issues, we've really liked the Durango. The guys have liked the Durango that they got most recently, and it seems like a better vehicle. So essentially, that's why we're looking at a Durango now,
And you got one available.
rather than a Ford.
and we have one available.
So I believe we would need a motion to authorize up to $72,000, give a $1,000 cushion for the purchase of a 2023 police rated Durango, plus fit up.
Is this a new,
I think the
an
fit-up's
additional
included.
car, or is this a
Exclude-
replacement?
That includes.
To include fit up, yes.
Yeah,
Total
so
price of up to.
This is it would be an additional car in our fleet. Right now, I gotta memorize. Right now, there are 7 vehicles in our fleet. Of those vehicles, one is the chief's vehicle. The other is the K-9 vehicle. Those are both dedicated, so they're not necessarily fleet vehicles. We have another vehicle, one of the 21 Explorers, which is a Stone Garden, Operation Stone Garden vehicle that was paid for through federal funds. That has to, if there's a Stone Garden shift that the officers volunteer to work, that's the vehicle they have to use for that, as part of them giving us that, money for that vehicle. We have another vehicle, the 2017 Ford Explorer with over 101,000 miles on it right now. That's primarily used as a reserve vehicle and is for the SROs. And then we have the 2019 Explorer with 62,000 miles on it. That vehicle has been offline a couple times due to some body damage, most recently a suspect crashing into the car. Other than normal wear and tear repairs, that car's been fairly rock solid. The real major issue is the AC isn't the strongest AC unit in the world in that car, so you have to run on max the whole time to get, sufficient air conditioning in that on hot days. The other 2021 that we have in the fleet has 39,000 miles on it right now. We've had to replace axle seals on the front. we've had to replace water pump in that vehicle. And the Stone Garden car, the other 21 is having similar issues. And then we obviously have the 2022 Durango. At one point, between January and March, we had 2 vehicles down. One due to the crash damage, it was completely out of service, waiting to get repaired. And the other one was the 2021 that was down for 3 weeks with the water pump. So we get stretched operationally at that point. And if we start running the 2017 as a primary vehicle, it's gonna start costing us some serious
In the past week, the village manager's car was sort of a police car. Is that your car now?
That's his car now, yes.
Okay. Well, we don't use those cars in the police department at all anymore.
No, we
Need
haven't.
to?
Times have changed, Chris.
So, I mean, this, yes, is an additional vehicle, however, you know, we have, like, I have 2 21 Fords are going in next week for recall service, finally on the drivetrain recalls. And they're scheduled to be down a day each, but that could turn into 2 or 3.
It was nice to use our local dealer because it was so convenient hopefully for repairs that you don't need, but you know, you should have what you want. It works.
Small local dealers are no longer allowed to play in the game of police pursuit vehicles.
Really?
John Barrett could never get if he wanted to, he could try. I do not believe he'd even qualify to get a vehicle here and there.
Wow.
It is a very specific game. It is a very small fraction of less than 1% of all cars sold, far less than that actually. And it's just very few units produced for a very small, specific market.
How do the state police has got a large contingency of vehicles? Do they have trouble getting them too?
We do. We did. It was in my shop. We would buy sometimes 150 cruisers a year, and we would have difficulty getting them. And it's only getting worse.
Yeah, and even Burlington, I can say that they would buy maybe 7 vehicles at a time to keep their fleet functional. And it was usually through one supplier in Massachusetts. They are difficult. The last few years with the supply chain issues, it's made it very difficult to find cruisers.
So for tonight, we need an approval for a PO verification. Just so we can create a PO, we can get as a holding place.
Well, it's to purchase a vehicle that we have in Indiana available to us.
Yes.
Okay, so we need a motion to approve the purchase of the new cruiser in the amount stated. It's already been approved by the voters anyway, so.
And that's not to exceed 72, you said?
It's to withdraw money from the capital fund.
Right. But not to exceed 72,000.
Because to purchase the vehicle had not been put in front of the voters.
Right.
This is gonna be something that's not a budgeted item. So we need you guys, I guess, to authorize us to allow us to purchase a vehicle if it's not budgeted, but also take that money out of the capital fund.
Okay. Well, that's what they're approving. Take it out.
They approved us to put your surplus funds into the capital fund. But we need approval to purchase the car and remove them, and take the money for it out of the capital fund.
Not to exceed $72,000.
Correct.
I'll make that.
Okay, thank you. Motion's been made and seconded to approve up to $72,000
I do have
$72,000 taken out of the capital fund, whatever the motion was.
one quick question for Lynn. It's not feasible to ever lease police cars anymore?
Pardon?
No leasing is,
I mean, what we have done in the past is we have leased, but you're paying interest on that. So the last cruiser we bought, we took out of the capital fund, and we took it out of the capital fund maybe the We've done two in the last few years.
The 21,
I think one of the 21s we did also. We have leased them in the past, when we didn't have enough money in the capital fund, but then you're paying interest.
Okay, I just wondered
So-
if that was even an option.
We don't
It
get
doesn't
enough
sound like it's
interest
re-
To offset
economically
what we would pay in interest.
Okay.
Okay, there's a motion and a second on the floor. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
No opposition, motion's carried unanimously. Okay, order the car. Well, with their signature. Okay. And I guess we're lucky to find one that's available.
Very lucky, because as of next year, they're gonna be purchase order only. So these gentlemen like MHQ or John Jones would normally have 100, 200 vehicles on a lot, sitting there, to be outfitted or sent or
This one.
somebody
is
to
our-
purchase. They're not gonna be able to do that. So it's
You know,
literally
it's
gonna
good.
be,
I've driven up and down the East Coast lately, and every car dealer that I've ever gone by, their lots are packed with new cars. And it says the sales are down, you'd think all the companies would jump on the fact that get in the police market.
Probably a matter of money. I'm sure it is.
Well, they're getting big bucks, the
the prices are coming up in the mainstream pricing
I'm sure.
compared to where they were, like I said, even in 2022.
Unbelievable.
Okay, thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you, gentlemen, appreciate it.
Have a good night. Next item on our agenda, discuss and approve capital equipment savings purchases. That kind of goes along with what we just talked about.
It does. Similar vein, different department. So the first one up is one that we have ordered, we had talked about it. It's for $24,902. It's from Champlain Valley Equipment. It is we need authorization to retake this money from the Parks General Capital Fund. It is for a Kubota F2690 to replace our existing old lawnmower.
Oh, right. Nice one. Sounds like.
Yes, yeah,
Yes,
It's
it's
a-
replacing the existing Kubota.
yep.
So it's a tractor or a mower?
It's the
It's
snow
a-
track. It's got the bagger on it. It's the
Yes.
one that they do the parks with.
Oh, okay.
It's the big one.
So it's not-
Four-wheel drive, front mower, turf tires, 60-inch mower deck, grasshopper in the back.
It's a mower.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we get $3,500 trade-in allowance for the old one.
That's ancient. It's a
Essentially the
two-
same thing.
Here, oh, then not the year. The existing one has gotta be over 20 years old because they bought it before I got here.
Before you got it.
Yeah,
So it's not that old.
cause they've had it forever.
So after trade-in, a motion to authorize us again to utilize Parks General Capital Fund in the amount of $24,902 to purchase a Kubota F2690 mower. Do not have this type of.
Can it be used for anything else at all?
Junk,
Not even transportation?
scrap.
The answer is I don't know. I can find out for you. I'm not sure.
Obviously, it's one of those zero steer jobs, right?
It's not the zero, it's
No.
not a zero,
It's not a
it's got a
zero.
bagger
No.
on the back,
Yeah, I see.
it's a mower with a bagger.
They pick up leaves and stuff with it too.
Yeah, I mean, and that's what they, in the fall when they're doing the parks,
Right.
that's the big piece to it.
Okay, I'll make the motion that we approve $24,902 for a Kubota 2690.
Seconded.
Okay, the motion's been made and seconded to, take, from the Parks Capital Fund, 24 grand to buy the new tractor. Any more discussion? No? Okay, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion's carried unanimously.
Is there anything else under that?
Yes, one more thing under that
I
line.
thought.
Yes. As you recall, we had to get rid of the under the tailgate spreader sander last year. It was unsafe.
Yeah.
We had to come up with a fix for a insert for a salter sander combo that goes inside the 1-ton tailgate. And has a actuated vibrator, does all the, it's a box spreader. So Dean went out for Public Works, he got 3 competitive bids. The one that he chose was slightly more, not much, but slightly more, based upon safer operation. It was the only one that had hydraulics. So this 1-ton has full hydraulics, it's a little easier to operate. It is a Salt Dog 9-foot, 3-yard stainless box spreader. With the actuator, the vibrator, so the sand and salt doesn't get stuck, and the installation, it's a total cost of $11,140. So we would be looking for a motion to purchase that for the 1-ton Public Works vehicle.
Okay,
And this is called a salt spreader?
A spreader, sand, salt, it's whatever you put in there.
Yeah.
Sand, salt, or a mix of those.
okay.
Yeah, I'll make a motion.
And I'll second.
With the same language, sorry to interrupt, with the same language, it's got it out of capital. Okay.
Of course.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second to purchase the spreader for 11 such from the capital funds. Who?
Who made the motion?
Gene,
I think I did.
Adam second. Well, both of them second. Anyway,
I third.
so we have a motion and a second. Any more discussion? Don't think so. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, that motion carried unanimously. You see you had one more?
One more, it's the next item, it's number 15.
Oh,
Oh, okay.
good.
So as you recall, the conversation last year, we equipped hydro maintenance, Dan Chevalier and his team with a pickup truck,
Yeah.
with the ultimate hope of having him alleviate some of the pressure from Public Works so that they could salt and sand not only the hydro facility, but P10. So sometimes they don't get to P10,
Project.
that says Project 10. So the agreement is gonna be that if you see fit to allow for a plow and a smaller box spreader, they will take full responsibility to take care of hydro and all the needs, plowing, salting, sanding, and the same thing for Project 10.
Big.
Hydro and maintenance.
What is this piece of equipment?
So, it is, there are 2 parts and pieces here. The first one is a plow. So it is a 9-foot Super Duty plow for a cost of $7,203. And then in addition, there is a box spreader, same dealer, I'll get to that in a second. Both of these are from CCR Sales and Service. Again, competitive bid. They put together the best combination package. I believe that the plow is a 1-year leftover holdover that they have promised to hold until tonight's meeting, whether or not we get authorization. So the box spreader installed is $7,979. So I'd be looking, we would need a singular motion to purchase a 9-foot plow and V-box spreader from CCR Sales and Service for hydro and maintenance for the combined cost of $15,182.
108. What's this gonna be put on?
The truck that Hydro purchased last year.
I don't remember what it was. That was a
Which truck?
Chevy
Yep.
It's a Chevy.
4-wheel drive?
I forget the year. Oh, yeah, 4-wheel drive. The intent all along was to.
2016.
It was a 1-ton or something like that. wasn't
Yeah.
It was an F-150.
I think it's
Oh, was it
3/4.
quarter ton?
3/4 ton. I can follow up with those details. I don't have that in front of me.
Yeah, it should be able to handle it.
It's, we bought it for the purpose of
Yeah.
outfitting it.
Yeah.
We just didn't get to it last year.
Yeah, there's a little hill there.
A little bit.
I'll make the appropriate motion that we purchase this plow and box spreader for $15,108.
182. 15,182.
182. I amend the motion to make that statement.
Do we have a second for the motion? Chris? We have a motion and a second to,
I love spending money.
spend the amount of $15,180 to CCR, sales and service for a plow and sander for hydro and project deck. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, the motion is carried unanimously.
Can we,
Is
Tap-
that all the money we're gonna
can
spend?
we tap project 10? That's Vepsa, we don't own it?
We own the property. They, remember way back when they built Project 10, they leased the land from us where Project 10 sits for 99 years. So we own it.
They maintain inside the gate,
We do
we
outside.
maintain outside the gate.
Okay.
Just asking.
It's a fair question.
Item number 16, financial statement update. I'm assuming Lynn has something to say
Yep.
about that.
So I don't have July's financials finished between my vacation, Trish's on vacation, like, we haven't gotten everything finished. I did look at where July's numbers were as of today. Putting in, I posted her journal entries that she did before she went on vacation. And everything is looking about the same as it did for June. So I'm not too concerned. I did look like, both electric, water, and sewer, the revenues are looking like they may track a little bit higher than budget, which is a good thing, for the end of the year. We're still, I think I'd sent you guys an email out, property taxes from last year are like the lowest that they've been.
Why is that?
Betty's doing a good job at collecting.
Is that because of
Um,
that?
Yeah, cause we're like $11,000, I think, is what's left right now to collect
Yeah.
from last
Yeah,
year.
very little.
Yeah.
I mean, I was
Yeah.
shocked.
It's pretty
Some.
small.
Well, it's good news.
Oh, absolutely.
But, so basically, the hydro runs have been good. We're still tracking that we're gonna be under budget at year end. And July's runs were good also. Obviously, I should be getting that CDA bill next week, so I'll know. But this is the first time, years ago, lots of times we'd have a negative CDA bill, Vepsa would cut us a check. I haven't seen a year like this as far as numbers of checks in a long time. Like, we've gotten, and some of them are, some of them might only be 10, 15,000, but we've had some that were, $40,000, $60,000 that they've sent us.
Good.
Absolutely.
The Highgate property tax bill is gonna be high this year. I just sent their town clerk and their town treasurer, our generation numbers for 2022. But obviously 2022 was way higher than 20 and 21. So, I can expect a sizable property tax bill from Highgate. When I did budgeting, I did put some cushion knowing that. I did budget a little high, but I don't know, until we get it, you never know what their bill's gonna really run at.
Do we have any ability to change that formula?
No.
That formula was in legislature.
You have to
from
go to
Yeah,
legislation.
I beat that,
Okay.
I beat that horse and they snookered us big time.
Okay.
There was, so the way electric utilities are property taxed in the state of Vermont, historically, there was a form that we had to fill out. And it was, how many miles of lines do you have by transmission, distribution, overhead, underground? How many numbers of poles, numbers of meters, numbers of customers? We had to submit all that data. This year, in conjunction with that, they were like, oh, by the way, we want revenue by town, by customer class. We want customers, or kilowatts by customer, by town, by customer class. We want your fixed assets,
Who's we?
the property valuation of the state of Vermont, because everything goes to them and then they send the information to the towns. And then we want your fixed assets by town. And so a bunch of us were all like, you know, can you do it, can you do it? A lot of the utilities in the state didn't have the ability to really get down into those details. Fortunately for Swanton, because this is like a study that they're doing to figure out if they should change the methodology of how utilities are taxed.
Figures.
Fortunately for Swanton, way back in the beginning, our fixed assets are split by town. So for so like our asset class of poles, I've got a poles Highgate, Swanton, St. Albans. The only caveat I had is I didn't have town and village split. So I talked to the guy that the state had hired as their consultant and said, you know, this is what I've got. How would you like me to send you the information? So he and I came up with, I would do each one of those asset distribution and transmission asset classes for Swanton and split it in a percentage of number of miles of line. So like if we had, you know, 300 miles of line total and 200 of it was in the town, 100 in the village, take that percentage. So I was able to send in that information. We were one of the few utilities that was able to do that. And then with our software, I worked with our software company, because we use a lot of smart lists, which can pull information from tables. And I was able to get him both the kilowatts by town, by customer class, and the revenue. Took a while, like they wanted this information March 31st, and I just sent them the last bit of it, like within the last month. But there again, a lot of utilities weren't able to get that. So I don't know where this all is gonna go. But it could, you know, we could be seeing a change in how we're impacted. I'm sure it's not gonna reduce our property tax liability by any means. But, so a little update on that. Right now, year to date, our profit in the electric department, is running about $1 million. But we don't have the property tax bill from Highgate yet.
Right.
And we still have bond payments due, you know, for interest, we'll
Takes
have
care
that
of most
interest
of it.
expense. The hydro bond from the original hydro upgrade, that last payment is coming due this fall. So that will free up a $400,000 principal payment. The interest is pretty minor, the interest is only like $20,000 a year right now. And it will also free up about $1.3 million worth of returning contingency / debt service reserve funds.
Ooh, yeah,
So
that's a good amount.
we're gonna have to have a plan, this is something Bill and I are gonna have to work on how we're gonna spend that money. So that if the state questions it, you know, at the PUC level, we have an answer. Like, we know we've got money that we can put into the hydro plant, and we know the line crew's gonna have to replace a bucket truck soon. Like, there's places, but I wanna have it, like, written down, this is what we're doing with this money. So that if it's questioned, we can just produce it.
And it has to be done in the electric department.
Yes, that is electric department
Yes.
funds.
What's the
Plenty of
wholesale
needs.
price of electricity lately? Is it up or down?
Actually, it was looking like it was pretty good. They're having some problems with the Mystic contract, which we haven't really been hit with because we don't take a lot of the Mystic. But I feel like the price has been, the futures, it's looking pretty stable. Like last winter was like, it went up unexpectedly. They're not forecasting that this year. So, but we've had a lot of generation this year, which has
I was
helped
gonna
us
say,
tremendously.
Not only what are we paying in the wholesale market, but what are we receiving?
Probably not as much as we would like.
Yeah.
Oh, obviously.
In my spare time, I've actually been watching ISO New England figures every day, because I have a lot of spare time.
It's like a ticker tape.
55, 23 generally today.
There you go.
I studied a little bit of what's happening, how the western part of the country establishes electricity. They got a lot less middlemen.
Yeah.
I mean, this ISO New England thing,
Right.
with all these people dipping their hands in and not adding any value.
Mhm.
Somewhere along the line, people have gotta wake up and cut that out.
It's complicated.
If they're trying to get the more electricity for the electric cars that they want, and this other crap, that's gonna happen.
So we're gonna be seeing also this fall an equity call from Transco. They've got about a $30 million equity call this year. So I haven't seen those documents, I don't know what our share is gonna be. So we'll bring that to you when we get it, but it's a sizable equity call, so it's gonna be a sizable amount. They also have another bigger equity call coming in 2025. There's been discussions of amongst I'm part of the CFO forum, for Velco, and there's discussions of how do we do three smaller ones, 23, 24, 25, or how do you split that? I kind of talked to the controller of VEPSA and said, I think I'm gonna defer to you because we're gonna finance this through VEPSA, and you're the one that's gonna do all the regulatory paperwork to get it approved, so there's definitely one this year. There may be one next year, we're not sure yet. Definitely one in 25, so. On the water department, plant operators' wages are running a little higher than budget, and that's still true through the July numbers. Maintenance of services is running a little high. On the flip side, interest income is actually, we're getting some money on our savings, or on our savings in money markets, so we're getting interest income is higher than what I have budgeted. And at the end of June, it was looking like we were still gonna have a loss at the end of the year, but not as much as what I had originally had thought when I did the budget. And with the water, with the Missisquoi water line, the new bond won't go into the rates until a year after completion. So if we do construction in 2024, we won't see that in effect until a year after construction's finished. So, but on the, like all this, any of the subsidy amounts, which is forgiveness of the loan, so we'll have the debt of like the 1.1 million, the loan forgiveness amount, that's a grant, so that is gonna be an income amount. So we are gonna have a year where it's gonna look like we have a lot of income, but we truly don't. I mean, the project's gonna be an asset, we'll get some of that in depreciation, but the way it's handled on the books is it will show as an income item. On the sewer, the revenues are tracking ahead of budget, and that's still true. Chemicals and testing, which chemicals is a big item in the sewer department, that's still staying under budget. Administrative salaries, by year end, that is gonna be over budget, and part of that is due to the grants position that wasn't in the budget. Interest income is running higher than budget, and that fund is most likely gonna have a profit at year end. But there again, we do have a project in the works, so.
Right.
In the highway department, they were basically on track when I looked in June, or for June, so it was the last month. It is looking like they're gonna have a small loss at the end of the year, and a lot of that is attributed to their transportation expenses. Diesel fuel, maintenance on the vehicles is running higher, and that's a good reason why it's gonna be a little bit of a loss. In the general fund, interest income is ahead of budgets. Admin salaries are gonna be over budget, and that's due to the grant position. Office supplies is over budget. That is, we had to basically get Heidi set up, so that wasn't in the budget. And retirement and health insurance is gonna be over budget. Part of that is the grants position, and part of that, in any of these funds, if the retirement's looking like it's gonna be up higher. When we estimated, when we did the budget, or when I did the budget, remember we approved the change in retirement plans? So I estimated who was gonna go where, and whether that actually filtered out, cause that was a guesstimate that I did back last November for something that was happening in July, not knowing, nobody had to commit to what they were doing until after we'd approved the budgets, actually. Maintenance of this complex and maintenance of parks is under budget. The general fund's the one that concerns me a little bit, and as far as where that's gonna land at year end. I'm afraid that it might be a little bit over budget. The fire department, the salaries are slightly under budget at year end, but that can change pretty quick because they can have 2 quarters that they have very few calls, and then they can have 1 quarter that knocks them all out of the park and really blows our budget. And transportation expenses are at budget, right now, but, which means like, we're like at budget. We're definitely gonna be over budget in that line item because we know we've still got fuel and maintenance that's gonna happen for the remainder of the year. There was 8,800 in there that was an insurance claim, so it's in the expense, but the reimbursement from the insurance company is in the revenue. So even when I take that out, we're still tight. And at year end, it's looking like they're gonna be really close between they have a profit or a loss. The police department, grant income is looking good. And, the COPS grant, which is, we have the SRO at the high school and we have one of our officers here that's on the road through that grant. It was supposed to be done June 30th of this year. We were given notice, a couple months back that due to COVID, none of the agencies, or a lot of the agencies, weren't able to fill their positions and get their true 36 months under the COPS grant. Because it's a 4-year grant, 36 months under the COPS grant, 1 year you pay fully. People weren't able to fill all their positions, so they graciously extended it another year. So it's good news for the school, because they're getting the benefit of, because that SRO up there, we were only gonna have a little over 2 years, with him up there, like 2.5 years. So they're gonna get the advantage of their full 36 months. So it's good for them. That grant portal is just real cumbersome. It's just not a real friendly grant to maneuver around in. But yeah, still, we will see all of that. If you look at your financials, when I send them, like salaries are over budget, but a lot of that, we get Stone Garden grants. So the only grant that I have budgeted is the COPS grant, because that was a multi-year grant. I knew what the numbers were. So like the Stone Garden one that they do and any of these governor's highway safety grants, I don't budget that. So you're gonna see salaries are gonna be high and over budget, but you're also gonna see that we've got grant revenue that's not budgeted. So it offsets each other. Retirement right now is still under budget, but that's one of the departments that a lot of their people switched from either group B or C to group D. And it was a good judgment call, when budgeting was happening, who was gonna do what. So that started July 1. So we'll see, on how that sugars off. I'll know a little better at the end of September, because I'll be able to see what the impact is for 1 quarter of the difference for who took it versus who didn't. And then at year end right now, it's looking like it's a small loss, but I didn't take into account, like when I did the projections at the end of June, I took into account any grants that had been submitted that we hadn't received funding for yet. But like the Stone Garden boat, the Stone Garden car, when they're on the road, and the governor's highway safety, like I didn't make an estimation of, because I don't know for sure how much more time they're gonna have. So that one could be a little over budget or it could not, depending on what they do for grant money. So, and then, I think that was it. The only other thing I noted with the June or the July financials was I wanted to let you know, and I don't have it printed, so I'll have to give you the June number. But as of the end of June, 504,000 is what is in the work in process account in the electric department. The good chunk of that. So some of it's the guide bearing up at the hydro plant that we're working on. But of this, a good 350,000 of it is your hydro licensing project. And then in the commercial building, we are about $210,000 into the roof project.
Or how much?
About
210.
210.
No.
Well,
Is what we've spent on
sorta.
that property.
Oh, okay.
So far.
Sort of.
Sort of, yeah. Understood. Thank you.
Yes, I understand.
That's my fault.
Thanks, Lynn.
No
Yes.
problem.
Must be because we're paying the president the most.
Yeah, right.
He's been in a good mood, so keep doing what you're doing for your neighbor.
Right.
Do you guys have any questions on any of that? So I'm hoping, when I came in tonight, I have a bunch of bank statements on my desk, so, that's probably everything that I had left outstanding to get to tie out my July financials, so should be able to get them out to you, once I'm back next week, end of next week.
Okay, thanks, Lynn.
Thanks, staying on top of it.
So you're probably going to discuss the next item too. Discuss and approve the 2023 property tax rate.
Diane, do you have the sheet that I gave you? So while she's gone, I'll just tee it up with, the grand list number came in higher than what it was last year. So when I do the projected tax rate for the budget, I use, because you don't know really what has been built or modified, I use the grand list number that we had from the prior year. So it's up a little bit. So the tax rate came in under what was in the annual report. And I have an email out to the town, because I know you guys like to know what the town's grand list is. And I sent her an email and I haven't gotten a response back yet. Thanks, Diane. So, the grand list is, 1,664,546, which gives us a tax rate of 0.9943.
Say
Which,
that again?
the tax rate of 0.9943. In the annual report last year, it was estimated that it was gonna be 1.0027. So it's still under $1. It is up 11 cents from last year. And that will generate revenue of $1,654,871.
Can you repeat that?
$1,654,871. And for somebody with a $250,000 home, that is gonna be an increase of $284.47.
You need a motion to approve the rate?
We need a motion to adopt the tax rate.
I make the motion, we approve the tax rate of, like it says, 0.9943.
Second.
Okay, motions have been made and seconded to approve the tax rate of 0.9943 for the ensuing year. Any more discussion?
What is the percentage increase?
Oh, that's
Only
good-
because I
that's a
get
good
asked.
question.
11% over last year, I think.
Yes, it was 11%. 12.9.
Almost,
12.92.
12.92.
oh,
12.9%.
and our.
Okay, any more discussion?
Used eight, didn't we?
All those in favor of the motion, his motion, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion's carried. Okay, you said it.
Let me see here.
And thank you again, Lynn.
No problem.
18, we already read, item number 19, update of land feasibility for possible location for Swanton Recreation Community Center.
Yes,
Enlighten us, Bill.
Well, this will be brief. As you are well aware, I got appointed to help out in this regard, and I'm doing it gladly. So it's myself, Nicole Draper, Brian Savage, and Joel Clark. I believe we just finished yesterday by doing the final 2 parcels. I believe there are now 10 that have been evaluated. Many, well, many not necessarily new, many past, just revisited. So when you are at the joint session, I will not be there on the 22nd. Just as a reminder, I'll remind you again, it's in my notes. You'll get an update, you'll get the final report that'll be delivered to you and to the select board. So that again is just a land feasibility study. It's got the 10 locations, it's got the price, pros, the cons, the tax map, kind of a parcel map, and a brief description. And then it'll be up to the select board, hopefully in concert or conversation with however much they wish to include you. And I think they are suggesting that they want you to be involved. That's why they're gonna talk about it. And you'll go from there. But the latest 2 were 2 Rowell properties, 20 Waugh Farm Road, which is directly after Berger's property. Beautiful piece of land, 9.5 acres, flat, a little bit of wetland mitigation that would have to be done, but not much.
Right on the rail trail.
Right on the rail trail. The irony in all this is that the town sold that to the Rowells in 2001. For a price that I do not believe will maintain today. And then the other Rowell property was directly across the road, adjacent to the town garage, filled with problems. I just, you'll read the full report, but just so many problems with access, ingress, egress, wetlands, terrain,
Power lines.
all of the above, not suitable. So hopefully that land feasibility will become a public document for the citizens, likely in this very room, to go along with a programmatic feasibility study. And then it'll be up to which direction they wanna go.
Yep.
So that's it on that. You'll get full details on the 22nd.
22,
Thank you.
22 August?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, did I have that right? Stand by.
Next week.
That's
It is next week. It's when I'm on vacation, August 22nd.
6
Yep.
PM at the town office.
Yep.
6 p.m.
Yes.
That's the one I'm going to. I think it is.
I'll forward you the agenda when I get it.
Okay.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna be here. What's today?
Okay. Item number 20, appoint.
It's a week from tonight,
Pardon?
a week from tonight, 22nd.
Yeah.
Bless you.
Okay. Appoint Heidi Rich Valenta to the Board of Directors, I think that should be commissioners, for the Northwest Regional Planning Commission, replacing Reginald Belleville.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second it. If she wants to do it.
If you want.
She wants to do it, she'd be great, she'd be an asset there, she's involved in all things related to NRPC, it's a perfect fit.
Excellent.
Good.
Good choice.
Mr. President, is it commissioners or directors? Because we can,
It's commissioners,
okay.
because I'm the other one.
I know you were, I didn't know which one it was.
So, motion's been made and seconded to appoint Heidi Bridge Valenta to the Board of Commissioners of Northwest Regional Planning. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion's carried. Okay, thank you. So now we have a water request, Diane?
Yeah, water allocations.
So we need to go into water commissioners. I'll
Okay.
move that we go into water commissioners to discuss appropriate business at 8:21.
I'll second it.
Okay, the motion's been made and seconded to go into water commissioners meeting to discuss this request. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carried. We are in Water Commissioners meeting. So what do we have for a request?
So, this gentleman that lives down on Morrow Drive, 17 Morrow Drive, it's down by the Swanton Beach Park, has requested permission to connect to the Swanton Village water line. He is paying for all the excavation work that has to be done at his expense to get to that line. He's aware of the $1,500 fee paid to the village to connect. Dean has been working with him. We'll monitor the tapping of the line. He's aware he has to buy a water meter package. He has a very old dug well that's just not cutting it. So he's aware of all the fees that go along with it and everything that he has to do at his expense. It's for a single family, 2-bedroom dwelling. It's pretty basic. And
We definitely have the capacity.
we have the capacity, it would not have an adverse effect. It's just water, no sewer.
I'll make the motion.
Okay,
I'll
Chris
second
made
it.
a motion
I'll second.
to,
I spend money.
and
Why
seconded. Motion's been made and seconded to, go ahead with this person's water hookup request.
Yeah.
All those in favor of the motion, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, okay. Motion's approved.
Partial makeup for buying that
So,
tractor.
And I'll move we come out of Water Commissioners at 8:24.
second.
Yes.
Okay, motion been made and seconded to come out of our water commissioners meeting into our regular meeting. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 Okay, we're out of water commissioners, back into our regular meeting. And the next, the star of the show, the village manager's update.
I don't know about that, but both, I just wanna note for the record, the member on my left and the right both whispered that we're ahead of schedule and that
We
I
are.
will take my time.
So that gives you a longer,
I have a few pages, just a few things, but they're really important. We just signed and finalized a contract with VHB for our downtown enhancement. As a reminder, it's a $300,000 grant with a $75,000 match. So that will allow us to now do all of the design work and start construction in the spring,
amen,
which is a good thing.
Nice
So
yes.
that's a good hurdle and we're ready to go. Little side note, it's not on the notes, but we're moving full speed ahead. Heidi is doing full exploration of any grant opportunity to truly take 74 Merchants Row and maximize that thing for a parking lot. And really build a retaining wall on the left side as you go down and on the back, as far back as you can go. There are some requirements. You have to have some green space, but limited. So it's
Some.
not that big of a lot.
Some.
So
Paint the parking lot green.
you can try. So that's another little project. Let's talk about the Vietnam Veterans Memorial Bridge. So on August 8th, the state of Vermont, I think many of you know, came and they conducted the bridge inspection. So our public works crew went out there with Dean and company. The quote is that the expansion joints will need repair sooner rather than later. So I want to remind all of you that we have a $200,000, it was $175,000, we have a $200,000 grant still available for the next construction season. It was obviously, we rejected the bid for the last one because I believe the quote was $360,000 and prices are not going down. So we will have a decision to make. We are shaking every tree possible on the state level, every pool of money to find additional funding. As soon as we receive the report in writing, the bridge inspectors and that team from AOT are willing to come in and have a conversation with us. And they're aware of the state of our bridge. I'll also remind all of us that many bridges are in worse shape because they got washed away. They're the most recent flood, so.
I think so.
But the bottom line is that expansion joint in its current condition will certainly not last until the bridge is replaced in 2029. Which, let's be candid, that might now have been altered based upon the flood.
Can you repeat that one more time for the camera?
No. No, the timeline is in question.
Yes.
As it would be at any point during a national,
Yes.
natural disaster.
Yes.
So,
There could
more
be
to
one.
follow. But we have to really have a conversation at some point about the fact that, we're gonna have to go back out to bid with an RFP and look for a solution, see what's out there, see if there's some different type of technology, but it must be fixed. And we own the bridge, and we only have $200,000 right now in grant funding. It would be during next construction season, it would be during the next budget period. But I would say we're between $300,000 and $500,000 short of a suitable fix at this point.
Or what? If we don't fix it.
That is a great question. That's a question for the state of Vermont.
State of Vermont has tell us we've got to fix it.
Well, we've agreed to fix it because we've already received and solicited grant funding for the joint repairs. We just rejected that because we wanted to see what the alternatives were. Now that they've actually been under with their snooper truck in the bucket and they're looking at it, it does not look good. Again, this is preliminary, without the full report, without feedback from them. We'll look for all kinds of grant funding. I'm just forewarning you that you might be faced with a decision to come up with in the next calendar year, X number of dollars to supplement the $200,000 in grant funding to do the construction. The other thing you'll be confronted with is whether or not we can find somebody to bid it in a manner where we can shut the bridge down for a briefer period of time and have them fix it all in one shot. 40% of that last contract, RFP, was in traffic.
control.
You would eliminate that with Jersey barriers and rerouting traffic. Whether or not we're legally allowed to do that, I'm not sure. We'd have to research it.
We own the bridge.
We own the bridge, but we don't own the adjacent state highways.
But
I'll
there
give
is
you
a
that.
bypass by going around the beach.
I give you that.
Yeah, oh boy.
There is a physical bypass by going around the beach.
Yeah,
That's the trouble.
Yeah.
It's not like
Right.
there's no alternative.
right. And,
It's
and I,
not good, but it's an alternative.
yeah, I throw that out there as an alternative, because if you save 40% of that amount of a cost to shut something down for a period of a few days, if they can do it in a few days, it's a no-brainer if we're allowed to do it. Okay. Dam inspection. So we had our annual FERC dam inspection on August 8th. I joined Dan. Actually went extremely well. It was a brand new dam inspector to us. We were informed that they rotate on purpose. They're allowed to go to the same site for a 5-year cycle, and after that, they rotate out. New eyes on, different look. I don't know, that's what they do. So the only comment that they had that's a negative is the obvious one. The 500-foot cable that held all of the big, large buoys upstream,
Yeah.
you know, we lost it in the
Did you
flood.
find it?
We recovered every buoy with the exception, I think we recovered 21 of 23.
Well,
However many are on it.
That's pretty good.
That's pretty good. That's not, well, it's good because those things are $250 a piece. We have on order through the electric department a 500-foot spool of cable that they're trying to find, because that's generally not ordered in those lengths. So as soon as that's there, we'll put that back. We haven't got the finished report, but the guy went through everything and very
Did you
good.
go inside that?
No, they don't go inside the bag, they look at the pictures of the bag, but, kudos to Dan, I wish he was here when he anticipated all of the questions, he's been through it with the other guy, but every manual policy was out, everybody on staff was there, it was very great, showing them everything. Pretty good, even the most recent safety improvements we made across the board were readily apparent up there and were commented on by the inspector.
Would you have them stamp our certification?
It's not the same person.
Just
But
ask.
close.
Didn't hurt to ask.
Keeping in line on the, on hydro, that very next day, the contractor came back, If you recall, Unit 3's been down
Yeah.
for some time.
That's on my list.
We took a shot at a new contractor that we got recommended by Dave Gagne at Project 10, exceptional. They came up, I was there the day, so unit number 3, the exciter, the controls, they took them off site, repaired them. These things are 33 years old. And plug and play, turn it back on, 100% capacity in 5 minutes. 9.5 that day. We were spilling on August 9th. The next day, we generated 9.7 the entire day. So immediate dividends, it's back on, it's
Yeah.
holding, it's performing exceptionally well. But like Lynn says, it's good that we're having some money to put into stuff, because when you wanna talk about projects, again, every contractor that comes say, hey, we fixed it, but it's a little bit MacGyverish, right? I mean, you're not finding technicians that have ever worked on this stuff because it's really dated technology. So there are a number of things that need to be upgraded in that facility, short-term, mid-term, and long-term, no doubt about it. Go ahead. FERC relicensing, Paul Nolan and I are, I'll say for the camera, we're getting to be best friends. I have sat in on so many conference calls now with the various scientists, newfound respect for all of the tests and things that we're running, but Dan again is working exceptionally well with Paul. We had a list of about 35 additional information requests from FERC that we've responded to, and we'll be done that hopefully by tomorrow. We'll hit send to Paul, and he's got another week to send it out. So here's the reality of it. We're not gonna get relicensed on time. I don't wanna sugarcoat this. I don't even wanna pretend. We're just not. And we'll continue to run under our own license, and it seems like there's always a data gap. My new favorite 2 words, data gap. And that mandates another study, another weave and bob, twist, and that is what continues to happen. So I'd say it's okay. It's not a horrible thing. We're making progress. We will continue the dialogue with the State of Vermont Agency of Natural Resources. I would love to sit down on the 401 certification for water quality and have a dialogue with them. But so far, that has not happened. I think we'll leave it at that. See that picture? Okay, you remember those nice pictures that I showed you last meeting with the culvert and what we're trying to do with that culvert liner?
Yep.
So E.J. Prescott, the contract, as a reminder, was $75,000. They came in, and Diane will pull up some current pictures, but 3 different groups come in. A group comes in to drop off the 4 pipes, 2 50-footers, 30 inches in diameter, and 2 24-inch pipes get dropped off. They then come in, so you'll see the first picture up there. On site, they have a device that at the same tensile strength of the pipe itself, plastic welds together. And it was welded on site. The third and final group was here today, and so if you open up one and then you write, if you write arrow, it should go to all of them, I think. It did on my computer. So that's the biggest one. That's the one on the upstream side. So they took that thing, and Mike Bushy was operating the excavator, and our electric company, P.E.G. and Tanner, took turns with a crane, boom, and they fit it right in that hole, bending it around. And then they did the other one from the other side. It will be cemented in place. That either happened today or tomorrow, and then it will be grouted. So for $75,000, we have that entire section now perfectly, like it's brand new.
No washing.
That goes right under the sub, so that now allows us where the storm drain was to fix the sinkhole once and for all. And that, all of those problems have been alleviated. So quite a process to get that thing started. That's what that picture is. And then once it went in, Bush had to just kind of get a hit and keep pulling that thing and manipulating it, and it went right in. So all in all, a very good solution for a fairly reasonable price.
Yeah.
That's the picture of the pipe through the storm drain. So you can kind of see it like passing through. Any questions on that one?
Well done. Dan was telling me about it.
It's
Pretty cool. I wish I'd gone up to.
It's great technology, yeah, so there's the final section, so, at the end, they cut it with about a foot, left out, and you got that little section left. And then the same thing on the other end actually is gonna extend for 10 feet, so it goes away from our site a little bit, right back into the river, and again, it's just water flowing through there.
And that was done this week?
Today,
Oh, today.
yep. Yep,
So
but
now
the
that
whole,
you've seen them, I'll throw some on the website
yeah.
tomorrow.
Cool.
Confirmation that the town has fully agreed and has the package from the one village resident who was impacted and, got into the FEMA flood-proof buyout program. So Brian Savage has accepted that, the town's accepted that, they're gonna take care of that applicant and any other village applicant as part of their process.
Oh, that's good.
So that's a good resolution.
Cooperation.
We talked a little bit about the 3-acre rule. As you are well aware, we have 3 properties in the village that meet the 3-acre requirement. We have until October of this year to have a plan of action in place for each, and then 5 years to have that plan implemented. So 120, 124 First Street, that'll be taken care of with the civil engineering for the design of the new building and this location renovation. Regardless of what option is ultimately chosen, we have to fix the stormwater problem. I reached out to Watershed Consulting and they're going to give us a bid. We've used them before for Jones Court. So again, that's our 3rd and final 3-acre rural property. I've spent far too much time researching that than I ever thought I would. I know more about stormwater than I thought I ever wanted to. We assumed responsibility for that property in the early 2000s. And the most recent the most recent stormwater permit expired at the end of last year. So we are mandated coming up with something for pretty small dollars here on paper for a proposed solution, and then 5 years to make sure that solution is in place. And in fairness, they may say it's fine the way it is, the way the structure is. But we have to be permitted, we have to do it legally, and it's our problem, so we'll take care of it.
In general, could you kind of explain some of that so the public can understand it? Maybe you can't.
Well, it depends on the property. Yeah, you're supposed to have an integrated approach to ensure that any and all stormwater is not running into your sewer system at all. And, right, if we took an analysis, and this would be true in any community. When we get a storm right now, what's the first thing that happens? We add 300,000 to 500,000 gallons daily to what's going into our wastewater treatment facility. That's not additional sewage, that's stormwater. So for these bigger properties that we can control and mitigate, interconnected systems to ensure that we're doing everything to capture the water and divert it to where it needs to go, which is not in our sewer system.
And in a general sense, it's the area covered by essentially our parking lot and buildings,
Yes.
essentially that.
Mhm.
So that any rainwater that flies or falls in those areas gets taken care of appropriately.
Right.
Where do you think the stormwater is coming from that goes to the treatment plant?
It's a great question. I'm not sure.
Nobody knows?
Oh, well, a lot of it can be town. I'll give you an example. We get called off into Brooklyn Street. Even though it's not ours, we get the call. I've gone out there myself with Dean. There clearly is no stormwater there at all. There are sewer drains there. There are sewer, they're not sewer drains.
Catch
I'm
basins.
saying, yeah, catch basin. Yeah, and it would take millions of dollars to mitigate all of it. But the whole point is, right, little solutions. I'll give you one. We had that 11,500 grant that we got. The project that was chosen and approved by the state of Vermont was Foundry. We just, it's on my list, but I'll jump to it. We just finished the Foundry 2 days ago. The stormwater solution on Foundry Street. That's an example right there. That's stuff that's not gonna ultimately flow downhill right to where? Right to our pump station. There's no doubt that'll be a small ability to alleviate the impact. But 11,000 is another example, grant funded, paid for everything. We tracked our time, our material, our equipment. So the material in this case, $5 or $6 grand roughly. The rest comes back to us for a job that we would have gone out and done ultimately anyway. So it's a great all-around thing. So the Jones Court one though, I'm told, and I know nothing about it, other than obviously where it is so water saturated, and I'm told there's really not a lot that you can do for the stormwater there. So I don't know what their plan's gonna be. I'm not sure.
Keep us posted.
Yeah, will do. I'm learning more, but not,
I'm wondering if the stormwater really isn't stormwater. If it's underground water coming from maybe the area of the interstate.
yeah, who knows?
You know, it's
Hard to know.
Yeah.
it's hard to know. It really is.
I mean, some of the areas here are pretty low. You know, and the water probably,
Water table's super high, like over here, you
Yeah.
heard 18 inches it's gotta come up, and that's about the max that you can do, cause it's a fire department apron. So it's, it's problematic for sure. We already talked about the river crossing. Heidi and I went out and did, walked with State Historic Preservation. Very briefly, Swanton Beach. So we have had a couple of circumstances where the police department were busy with other higher priority things and did not get down there to lock the gate. And of course, what happens when you don't lock the gate? Because I believe people are checking it every night. So this is now for the public, for those that do watch, listen, spread the word, whatever it takes. We have added security cameras down there. We are locking the gate on a more regular basis. Somebody still wants to park right at the gate and burn out every night, right at the gate, facing away. We're gonna add another security camera. And then we'll make it a point to ensure that we enforce those violations as soon as we can identify who's responsible. So it's a continued thing, and of course, when they do get in there, we're getting the phone calls from people, and rightfully so. 4 o'clock in the morning, they're getting woken up, so.
Yeah.
There's some discussion about why we're not installing automated gates in those areas, and of course, it's based on cost and things like that. And it's, we'll continue to do what we can, but again, September 1st, it changes. That's resident goose season. There are people that use that access for very early morning, 3:30 in the morning, access to Maquam Bay. So for the next roughly 15 days, we'll close it at night and open it at 7:30. Before that, we gotta leave it open, because we're not gonna pay for somebody unless you want us to pay for somebody on overtime to get up at 3 o'clock in the morning to go unlock the gate.
that's
I
okay.
might add to that, Bill, they finished the mural on the bathhouse.
Looks awesome. I went down there today.
Fantastic.
Really, really good.
They did a
Yeah,
great job.
great work.
I'll have to go look.
I think they did a great job.
Classy, yeah.
I saw that.
That's on my list too.
Yeah, that's nice. The final reminder, August 22nd, that's your joint select board trustee meeting. It's gonna be to review the municipal plan. Yeah, no saying. That the select board did, and they're gonna wanna share the results with you. If you recall, I went there to that select board meeting to ensure that there were a few changes that were made, and we got those changes made, so. Enjoy that meeting. I wish I could be there. I think the next ones are just generic updates, so that's all I have.
Really? Well, thank you for that. I'm gonna bring this up, one concern, well, I had a call from the, Jessica Hoover's,
Yes,
the girl that's
Yep.
gonna open a bakery down there. I guess she's getting closer to opening.
Yeah.
And, she's wondering if we were still interested in helping her with the signage that we talked about earlier. She gave us an estimate from the company, and she's gonna have it revised a little bit, but she was wondering if we were still interested in helping her out with that.
Sure.
So, the original sign that we got the proposal for was $5,000, so.
so I think the trustees are aware that the loan committee comprised of myself, trustee Paxman, and Lynn have reviewed her application pending another final approval of proof of the loan. She knows that she's gonna be approved. I've met with her, but that's for the loan. So are you saying that she's requesting additional monetary assistance for the sign separate from the loan?
I thought we had offered to give her something.
That was another business.
And that was through
That was a
ARPA
different
money, the ARPA funds are all.
You remember?
Yeah, we have no, ARPA funds have been fully expended. We did, out of ARPA, as you recall, we did $400 for Merchants Row business.
Yes.
Yeah, I think that's what it was.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what
I'm
it was.
remembering.
I didn't know about this loan, she didn't say anything about this loan that you're talking
So she's eligible for our revolving loan fund. Her application's been approved. As soon as she meets that last piece, I met with her late last week. It might have been this week. I don't know. I met with her just very recently.
It'd be nice to have
about.
her.
We've already covered it.
There was no, to be fair though, and to be clear, there was no discussion about the sign. Just the
Right.
fact that she's eligible for that
Okay.
amount for the loan.
She used that. money
So
for sign.
I guess perhaps some clarification.
All right, I'll ask her.
Okay.
Okay, good. Any other necessary business?
Just an awesome car show,
Yeah.
218 vehicles in the park,
Nice.
we turned away 3. We
Really?
could not fit them in.
Wow,
It was just amazing.
wow.
Yeah, we were a little generous on our parking in the morning because we weren't sure the kind of turnout. Usually if you go to your rain day, you don't get as many.
Yeah.
And so we were a little generous in our parking in the morning, but we came back to haunt us, but in a great way, in a great way. It was a great show. You know, can't thank the sponsors enough for all their work. You know, the village and the town for doing all their stuff around the park, and just a phenomenal show. We did a 50-50, and we raised $1,774 on 50-50.
Wow.
So, 2 people walked away with $444, and then the rest of the money is going to be used to bring Betty back. So,
Well, that's nice.
yep,
Nice.
yep.
That's awesome.
Very good.
So, but again, thank you to all the participants, all the sponsors. Just a great show, great weather that day, and you know, just can't thank everybody enough.
I'm sure there were competing views, but for the record, I did get multiple complaints about the fact that we furnished a police officer there for departure time, for the end of the event. People commented that it was nice to actually see all of the cars leave, and you kind of get to watch them drive away one final time.
You could see that every year.
And then I know there are others that want a little demonstration of burnout skills
Yeah.
there.
Yep, so the car show committee is gonna formulate a plan to come to the trustees next year with a plan. So, we shall see.
And the air was clear
In the air,
at the end of
yes.
the show.
Yeah, and I made the announcement, just as I was requested, that we respectfully leave the park. And so, we had one citizen that was very belligerent about it and couldn't understand why, but that citizen was taken care of.
Okay. So,
He didn't want
we
to do
have
this.
a request to go into the executive session to discuss personnel and real estate. I'll entertain a motion to that.
So moved.
Motion
Second.
been made and seconded to go into executive
Madam.
session to discuss personnel and real estate. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, we're in executive session.